Hi, and welcome to this short yoga practice for back pain. So if you've been sitting down a lot today or you've been kind of hunched over a screen at all, these are just some really great simple postures that can release tension in your back and also can build up some muscles in your back. You don't really need to be wearing yoga kit, so just make sure you're in something comfortable. And if you've got tight hips or any injuries at all, just grab a cushion to have nearby as a prop to give you a little bit of support in some of the postures. And we will get ready to start. So we're going to start in a child's pose. So just have your knees hip width apart and then just gently bring your hips back towards your feet. If this is too much on the knees or hips, you can just place a cushion underneath you and then you've just got a little bit of support. And from here, we'll just start to walk the hands forwards. So we're keeping our arms nice and straight and active in this posture. And let your head relax down. So perhaps your forehead comes to the ground or the mat. And if it doesn't, and you haven't used your cushion already, you can always just rest your forehead on the cushion. Closing down the eyes. And just taking a few releasing breaths here. So let's inhale deeply through our nose, feeling the chest expand, and let it out through your mouth. Inhaling through the nose and releasing through the mouth. Just feel that lovely stretch through the shoulders. And when you're releasing your breath through your mouth, make sure to really relax your jaw. On the next inhale, we'll slowly just start to draw our head up off the mat, and we're going to start to lift our hips as well. So walking the hands forwards, and then just making sure your hips are over your knees. So we're going to come into our puppy pose here, our melting heart pose. Hands are forwards, and we start to just melt the chest down towards the ground. Not if anything kind of tweaks in your shoulders, just stay here, this is great. Otherwise, gently bringing the chest towards the ground and either coming onto your forehead, or if you are quite open in the shoulders, potentially coming onto the chin and looking forwards. Keeping the breath moving. And again, just releasing tension in the jaw, in the neck and the shoulders. For 2 more deep breaths. And we slowly start to come up with the hands. So we're coming onto all fours here, onto hands and knees. Making sure your hips are still over the knees and your shoulders are over your wrists. Spreading all 10 fingers out, just to protect those wrists. And if you lock your joints out, if your elbows look quite sort of locked out, you can just soften your elbows here. We'll get ready to do some cat-cows. So on an inhale, we'll lift the crown of our head and our tailbone up to the ceiling, really arching the spine. And exhale, let the tail drop down, let your head drop down. So really slow movements here. Inhale to lift and arch the spine. And exhale, really let your head and your tailbone drop, push up into that mid-back. Keep moving in time with your breath, but keeping it lovely and slow. So this is a really great, safe way just to get some mobility in the spine, especially if we have lower back pain, getting mobility in that lumbar spine. And as we're not standing, so we're on our hands and knees, our vertebrae aren't kind of compressed, so you can really enjoy that mobility, feeling either end of it in your arch. And then when you push up into your mid-back, rounding the spine. Just for a couple more here. Maybe closing down the eyes and just kind of feeling how that feels in the spine to have that mobility. Final one. Keeping the breath nice and audible. We're just breathing in and out through our nose now. And then in your own time, finding a neutral spine. From here, we'll prepare to come into our pigeon pose. So we're just going to walk the hands slightly forwards and make room for our right knee to come forwards. We flex the right foot and we gently bring the foot forward. So it might just come to about here, it might come a little further forwards, and then we slide our left leg back. Keeping those toes and this foot nice and flexed, your right foot, to protect this knee. We inhale and we lift up to the sky. So we lift our gaze up to the ceiling, opening up the chest. You can have your hands kind of on your fingertips by your sides to keep you nice and supported. If this feels too much on the right hip, pop your cushion underneath your hip or underneath that thigh. You can have a little wiggle around and kind of see what feels best. So really opening up the chest, drawing up through the spine. So try not to kind of dump into the lower back, and let the chest and the heart space open. And then let's very slowly exhale to bring your hands out in front of you, either staying here, this is great, or potentially coming down onto forearms. If this feels okay here and nothing's straining, you might want to just see if you can walk the hands forwards a little bit. Maybe even bringing your forehead towards the mat or your cushion. And wherever you are, whether you're right down on your mat or if you're here on your forearms or hands, you can let the head be nice and heavy. So let the back of the neck release. So often back pain is linked to tight hips. So pigeon is just really great at kind of releasing the tension from the hips at all angles. So we're working our left hip flexor here in the front and obviously opening our right hip here. So the right glute and right hamstring and groin should be feeling that as well. Just looking down to those right toes, are they still nice and flexed? And let's use our inhale to gently pull us all the way back up onto our hands. Just really taking your time, just pulling your weight up, so you might need to tuck your back toes to come back onto the left knee and bring your right foot out. You might want to just wriggle that leg out behind you, and in your own time, find your way onto all fours with a neutral spine. So this time, let's draw the left knee forwards, flexing into those toes and bringing the left knee out to the side. Seeing if you can gently encourage that foot forwards a little bit. Doesn't matter if it feels different on this side, mine always does. You can start to slide your right leg back, keeping it nice and straight. Toes are pointing towards the back. And again, just kind of feeling how your stability feels, potentially popping a cushion under this hip. Even if you didn't on the other side, as I said, can feel totally different. And we inhale, open our chest up to the ceiling. So this, if we're hunched over all day, this is basically reversing that shortening of your chest muscles where your shoulders round. So we're reversing that effect by really opening up all the muscles in the chest for one more breath. And exhale. We'll come onto the palms of the hands and moving really slowly, potentially bring the palms a little bit forward, staying here, or maybe coming to forearms. Again, listening to your body, seeing if that feels all right, and maybe we then bring the forehead towards the mat. Letting that left hip open up. Potentially each exhale gently brings you a little deeper into the posture. if you are a visual person, you can kind of send your breath to that left hip. So imagine sending the breath flowing into that left hip. Otherwise, just noticing the breath. Noticing how maybe each exhale relaxes you into the posture a little bit more. And on the next inhale, let's draw all the way back up. Coming onto the palms of our hands. Again, you might want to tuck your toes at the back and just kind of shuffle that knee forward. Don't worry about what this looks like too much. And then we'll give the left leg a little wriggle out and find our way back on to our hands and knees. From here, we're going to get ready to come into our downward facing dog. So let's tuck our toes and just start to lift your hips up and back. So you're pressing into the hands, all 10 fingers are spread. Let's keep our knees quite bent for now. So really making sure we've got a lovely long spine, elongating, and all the energy is going up to our tailbone. So it's as if someone's tied something around our tailbone and they're drawing it up to the sky. Let your head relax down, so your gaze is between your legs. And if you do want to start working your heels towards the mat, potentially just working them one by one, so releasing our hamstrings again, which can be a cause of a tight lower back, especially if we've been sitting down a lot. Really enjoying that stretch in the back of the legs, slowly walking them out. Then finding stillness, we come up onto our tiptoes. Just bring your hands a little bit wider on the mat and we'll step into a cross-legged position. Again, don't worry what it looks like. Just finding our cross-legged position. And then once you're sitting down on your bum, you can just bring your legs out straight in front of you. Make sure your feet are flexed, so your toes are coming back towards you. And we're going to come into a gentle forward fold here. So I'd bring your feet hip width distance apart and have a micro bend in the knees. So just keep the knees really nice and soft. We're going to plant our hands down next to us, next to our hips. And from here, grounding down through the sit bones, you can draw tall through the spine. So as if you're sort of being pulled up by the crown of your head and then the opposing forces down through your sit bones. So imagine that lovely line of energy down the spine. Hands are flat on the mat, shoulders are relaxed and down. And once you've found that length in the spine, we can then start to hinge from the hips and just come into a very gentle forward fold here. So hinging at the hips, you can start to walk the hands forwards. Maybe they come onto your shins, maybe they come onto ankles or near the feet. They combine with the feet, but any strain, if you have that bind, just come back a bit onto ankles. See where it feels good today. Again, just keeping those legs nice and soft. Finding that length in the lower spine. And then you can let the head relax down here. So letting the head be heavy. Maybe your hands are on shins or knees and you're quite upright. As long as you have that sort of tilt here and the length in the lower spine, that's fine. If this feels too strong, you can always sit on your cushion here. Especially if you have a really tight lower back. Just pop the cushion underneath you. For 2 more deep breaths. Using your inhale to draw you all the way up. From here we're going to point the toes, just check you've got nothing behind you. And now we will really round our spine. Bring your hands out in front of you and you can gently start to roll all the way onto your backs. We'll get ready for our bridge posture. So bringing the soles of the feet to the mat, quite close to your bum, so you should be able to feel your heels with your fingers. And on the mat, you can now have your palms flat on the mat. Just lengthen your tailbone. So you should feel the length through your spine here. You should kind of feel the contact with the spine on the mat, on the ground beneath you. And once you've found that length, start to lift the hips up and off the mat. Lifting the mid back. And coming into our full bridge. So pushing up into your hips, and imagine you're squeezing a block or something between your thighs. So making sure your feet are still hip width apart and you're squeezing something imaginary between your thighs. Slightly turning on your glutes and turning on your groin muscles as well. If you have the clasp, you can start to shuffle your shoulders a bit closer together behind you and then clasp your hands underneath you, and that might help give you a little bit of lift into the hips. So your chest is coming towards your chin. And on each inhale, you're ballooning your belly upwards. So really expanding the belly. Really building strength through our hips and through our thighs here, which in turn should help our back, our lower back muscles too. They're building strength in this posture. And slowly, on an exhale, starting to roll down vertebra by vertebra. When we get to the bottom, you can just let your knees flop to one side and flop down to the other side. And then we'll bring the legs out straight. Inhaling, we'll draw our right knee up and into the chest. Just give it a nice squeeze. Hopefully the hamstrings will feel quite a nice release here. Using your left hand, just grab your right knee and start to bring it across the body. So we're getting ready for our supine twist. Make sure your right shoulder is stuck down to the mat. So your knee doesn't need to touch the ground or anything. It just needs to be across the body, so you're releasing that right glute. And right hand can come out at 90 degrees, or maybe just cactus the arm like this, next to you. Palm facing up, so you've got that lovely external rotation in the shoulder. And to complete this spinal twist, look over the right hand shoulder. So the twist going all the way from your coccyx right up into your neck. If you want to take your eagle bind, you can just tuck your right toes underneath your left knee, gently bending into the left knee, just to bring that stretch a little deeper. Otherwise, just staying exactly where you are, keeping the breath moving. And then inhaling back to centre, squeezing that knee in and releasing it down. Inhale to squeeze the left knee up into the chest. Using the right hand, draw the knee across the body, stick your left shoulder down to the mat. And then again, either bringing the hand out at a 90-degree angle, so straight arm, or we have our cactus arm, and looking towards that hand, so looking over the left hand shoulder. Just giving your spine a really nice last release. Maybe closing down the eyes and consciously relaxing your jaw, which in turn should relax the neck, the shoulders, and just let that effect ripple down the spine. Inhale, opening the eyes, looking back to centre, and we squeeze that knee up and into the chest. And let it go. We'll just have a really nice stretch of the body, so maybe bringing arms up and overhead, pointing your toes, inhaling really deeply through the nose, and release through the mouth, letting go of the hands. And if you have time, just staying here, lying down, and having a little relax. Maybe doing a few more of those deep breaths in through the nose and releasing through the mouth. I hope you enjoyed the practice today and you managed to find a little bit of release for your back. If you have any questions at all, just email me or comment below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And hope you have a good rest of your day.